Hey everyone, before this week's video begins, I want to tell you guys about the Wrestling Amino app. I just discovered this thing recently and I really like it. The best way I could describe the Wrestling Amino app would be if, say, Reddit, Tumblr, and Twitter had a baby, because it's got elements of all those things and more. This app pretty much covers all things wrestling. Your WWEs, your TNAs, your Ring of Honors, your Japan, your indie stuff, everything's pretty much covered here. You can take part in live chats about wrestling topics, you can write blogs, you can start poll questions, you can answer poll questions, there's different wrestling news, all the biggest headlines are on there, there's e-feds and role-playing, boy that takes me back to high school days. The Wrestling Amino app is 100% free, it's available for iOS and Android devices. You can follow me on the Wrestling Amino app, look for Brian Zane, look for this handsome face in the icon, that's how you know it's the official Brian Zane Wrestling Amino app profile. So if you want to find the download links, go to the description section of this video. You can find links for the iOS and Android. So now, let's enjoy the video. Do you love watching professional wrestling but hate the passive experience of watching on TV or on your computer? Chances are there's an independent wrestling league just miles away from where you live. If you've never been to an indie wrestling show before, it can be a really cool experience. They're usually much grittier and more intimate experiences than watching WWE on TV or even live. And who knows, you might get lucky and find one of wrestling's next great stars just when they're starting out. So for those of you who've never experienced the roar of the popcorn or the smell of the crowd, or maybe I'm switching those two up, here are 8 ways you can enjoy your next independent wrestling show. Number 8, do your research. If you're hoping to see some people you've seen on television before at your local indie fed, 99% of the time you will be disappointed. And for that 1%, chances are they're sad and broken anyway. Indie wrestling is chock full of people you've never heard of, even if they're really good at what they do. Before the show, my recommendation is for you to look up who's on the card and find any matches or promos of theirs online. I've said it before in this show, and I'll say it again. Anyone who's ever wrestled has some proof of it on the internet. Watching videos of the wrestlers or the promotion itself is a very good way to educate yourself on who's out there and what they're like and what the storylines and feuds are going on at that time. And if the promotion happens to have a website or a Facebook page they update frequently with news and info, even better. Number 7, bring a friend or make one. Everything's better with friends, up to and including sexy times. That being said, you should bring a friend or a loved one to the next indie show you go to. Someone you can laugh with, look on and awe with, discuss the action with. And if you're going alone, make some new friends at the show. After all, professional wrestling is a great social experiment in and of itself. So, be social. And hey, bonus points if you bring a non-fan of the show with you and they turn into a wrestling fan afterward. Sexy times not guaranteed. Number 6, bring a little extra money. You might find this hard to believe, but there's not a whole lot of money to be found in independent wrestling. Wrestlers almost never make the money they're truly worth, if at all, and so they have to make up the difference by selling merchandise. T-shirts, pictures, buttons, pendants, all kinds of crazy crap. So my advice to you is bring a little extra money beyond what you paid for your ticket and buy something at the gimmick table to support your favorite wrestlers. Number 5, don't compare it to WWE. First and foremost, independent wrestling is nothing like WWE. Not in its style, not in its presentation, not in its characters, nothing. So don't spend too much time comparing your indie fed to the big leagues. It's just not fair. In terms of wrestling quality, your local indie fed is probably not up to par with Ring of Honor or Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Now hopefully you're not attending Dumpster Fire Wrestling Alliance or MMA Shorts and Kick Pads Underground shows, but hopefully you're somewhere in the middle. You're going to a show with a bunch of people who are trained or still in training, hoping to get to that next level. What you see at these shows won't be perfect. There are probably going to be some botches, some awkward moments, some dead time between matches. Not everyone's going to be the greatest athlete in the world. There's going to be little to no production value in terms of their set or lighting or anything like that. But the most important thing is, the good feds at least are doing their damnedest to put on a good show for you. I'm not telling you to be forgiving of untrained schlubs who can't even work the correct side. That's not what I'm saying, and hopefully you're not at that kind of show, but at least be appreciative of what you have before you and don't try and compare to what you see on television every week. Number 4, don't be a smark. No matter how hard we try to avoid or deny this simple truth, deep down, we're all internet fans. We all understand that wrestling is a work and that the people who fight each other in the ring don't really hate each other. We read all the backstage news and we know how matches are built and stuff like that. That being said, don't be that guy. This is not me going on another rant about cheering faces and booing heels. Trust me, that had nothing to do with this video. That was my own personal bias coming out in that one video. Believe me, not discussing it here. You can cheer and boo whoever you want. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, don't be that fan who calls out a wrestler for using cheap heat in a promo or a match or yells out botch when they screw up. No one came to the show to hear your expert analysis. Don't be the kind of a fan who comes up to wrestlers after the show and calls them by their real name, unless you're friends with them in real life, that is. Don't be the kind of person who tries to act all Dave Meltzer with them. The wrestlers are not going to be impressed with your inner knowledge of the business. Just keep it to yourself. Trust me. Number 3, Don't touch the wrestlers. This is one of the cardinal rules of being a wrestling fan. Other than like a high five or something, don't touch the wrestlers. Don't hit them, don't shove them, don't trip them, don't slap them on the ass, don't take their gimmick out of their hand, none of that. It's a big no-no. If you do that, if you mess with a talent like that, you can and probably will be ejected. Which brings me to a similar but equally important point. Number 2, don't get in the ring. Oh my God, please don't be that stupid. You might be tempted to do it because usually indie shows don't have barricades, but please don't do that. You want to see something stupid? You want to see something really stupid? Watch this stupid thing. Look at this guy in the white shirt as he saunters into the ring at a show in California a few weeks back. Not only does he get into the ring, he starts shoving the wrestlers. What did I just say in point number 3? Guess what happens next, folks? The guy gets his ass beat. They beat him up inside the ring, they beat him up outside the ring, they beat him up as they're throwing him out of the show. Did I mention this was during the intros for an 8-man tag? How dumb can you be? You might be the biggest wrestling fan alive, but unless you're one of the boys, you just don't get into the ring. Nobody's giving you a contract for doing that. It's that easy. You don't storm the pitch at a football game, you don't mess with the doctors at an operating table, and you don't get in the ring during a wrestling show. You just don't. On a lighter note, and the number 1 thing to do to enjoy an independent wrestling show is have fun. Everything I'm saying here is a pretty loose guideline, except for points 2 and 3. Those are pretty much set in stone. But whether you go to a show alone or with friends, with or without a sense of context, the most important thing to do when you go to an indie show is to enjoy yourself. At the end of the day, wrestling is a fun escape for its fans. Without the fan base, there'd be no indie wrestling. And without indie wrestling, wrestling would be dead. We wouldn't have the wrestlers that we enjoy watching on TV today. There wouldn't be places for hundreds of men and women around the world to better themselves and hone their craft. And with so many different ways for people to spend their hard-earned money on a Friday or a Saturday night, now more than ever does wrestling appreciate and depend on its fans. So if you go to an independent wrestling show, go into it with an open mind. Take off your smart hat, sit back and relax. Who knows? You might just fall in love with it. Be sure to thumbs up this video if you like it, comment below, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Zane, and I'll see you next time.